story you are about to see is true.
Good evening, honored guests, and welcome to the 2022 Jack Webb Awards. Please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Los Angeles Police Department Honor Guard, the national anthem sung by Officer Abby Carr, and the invocation by Monsignor Francis Hicks.
Oh, say, can you see why the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad strides and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the guns bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Benevolent, protective, and gracious Father, we gather at this gala event this evening in your presence to express our heartfelt appreciation for the services rendered to promote, enhance, and sustain the unique institution, our Los Angeles Police Museum. These service partners are truly outstanding representatives of our extended Los Angeles enforcement community. These men and women, with their talents, dedication, and commitment, have maintained and burnished the historic articles and moments reflecting the history and the hallmarks of our Los Angeles enforcement institution. Through their efforts, these volunteers have merited the recognition and support of our extended police community. both for their achievement and commitment. Father, may all that we applaud on behalf of this loyal cadre of workers and supporters continue to find foundation in your inspiration and purpose. Grant, Almighty God, that these dedicated maintainers of law enforcement history, heroic deeds, and meaningful artifacts may continue to pursue these goals and objectives with unalloyed success. Father, replenish the reservoir of enthusiasm, elan, and vitality from which this commitment may continue to draw inspiration, innovation, and dedication. Lastly, but certainly not least, Father, we raise our voices to extend our sincerest appreciation for those special guests we honor here this evening, for their support to our community with their time and talent. At this gala event this evening, we render thanksgiving and appreciation for your guiding presence. Amen.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds.
Just who the hell are you?
He's James T. Kirk. Don't you read history?
Service rank, captain, position, Starship Command.
A real hero is someone who chooses to go far beyond the limits of what's expected to try and save a life. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of daring attempts to help and courageous battles to survive on Rescue 911.
What is it, Lieutenant?
Sir, the Mayflower's in trouble. She's coming in hotter than a firecracker, sir.
We better get to the tower, Lieutenant.
We have no tower, sir.
Why the hell aren't I notified about these things? Lieutenant, how would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
You're William Shatner.
You can call me Bill.
Oh, can I call you Captain?
No.
Please?
No.
Please. Sure.
I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man. Burning out his fuse out here alone.
This is us.
And capsule touchdown. Welcome back, the newest astronauts.
Captain Kirk himself, the great William Shatner.
But to see the blue cover go whip by, and now you're staring into blackness. That's the thing.
Fascinating.
Second star to the right. And straight on to the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host for the evening, the one and only Mr. William Shatner.
Thank you. Tumultuous applause. Don't stand, please. Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be here in a room full of policemen. It's really warm and safe. It's very safe in this room. Jack Webb was revered in this city and across the country. Dragnet's Joe Friday, Adam 12, Emergency. Committed to ensure that when someone saw on the big or small screen about the LAPD was the truth. Although he left us early, his legacy remains, and that is the reason these awards are presented annually in his honor. This event, as you all should know by now, is to expand the awareness of the Los Angeles Police Museum, paying tribute to the storied and proud history of the Los Angeles Police Department. And it is also a fundraiser to allow the museum to keep expanding, maintaining, and presenting its amazing collections, including artifacts from the Onion Fields case and the North Hollywood shootout. If you haven't already had the opportunity to check out the museum, you really should, as the displays are remarkable and they are the real thing. So yes, T.J. Hooker was my introduction to the LAPD. I went when we started, prior to going filming, I went down to the academy and I did all the tests and I shot on the range, and it was really a wonderful experience. And then we started, and I hesitate to use the word shooting film, in Los Angeles, and we went everywhere in Los Angeles in those black and whites, and indeed we ran across roofs of buildings and jumped over things that police don't do, but we did. I in fact was with an actor who was afraid of birds, and we were on rooftops, and that's where birds live. So there was the odd time when he would say, "There's a pigeon," and we had to quiet him down. But T.J. Hooker was a real experience for me. We'd go downtown every Friday night and film there. And I think it was a union thing, but shooting film in downtown Los Angeles in midnight and past is not a really fun thing to do. And there were several times with the crowd watching us film, there were incidences, and some of them very serious. And I take back with me, I have a picture in my mind, an impression, a freeze, if you will, of one of those evenings. It was 2:00 in the morning, Saturday morning, downtown LA, and they had a car for me, a limo, so I got into the limo, and there were all these people watching. And as the limo went away, and away from the crowd, under a lamplight, shaft of light like that, bad guy with a knife in his hand, and a police officer with his hand on his hip, ready to draw, and that's all I saw. In that moment, I saw a police officer at his work, the guardian of the city. That was my impression of the LAPD back then. People forget that police officers are human beings and that they have the same emotions that ordinary people have, And when you see footage of a shooting somewhere in a mall and people are running away from the bullets, running towards the bad guy or the policeman, and they've got to be as frightened as anybody would be, but their training and their job is to go after the bad guy while he is got a gun in his hand. It's extraordinary. You have to remember that is what a police officer does. And the only other story I could tell you right now is more amusing, perhaps. I was touring in something not too long ago, just prior to COVID, and I was in the Midwest, somewhere north of the Midwest, above Kansas City, and I had to get south, about 400 miles south, for the next evening. And I had a young man, very thin, emaciated young man named Dave, and the plan was to rent a car and to drive 200 miles and go to a motel and sleep for a few hours and then drive the extra mileage and get to the next gig. But I said to Dave, let's make it at one night. So we had this large American car that we had rented, and we got in it at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And he didn't drive. He was a smoker, And I tell you that because of what's about to happen. And I'm driving down this major highway, north to south, and it's 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. And I've got to get to this place in order to entertain that evening, but I got to get some sleep. So gradually my foot eased on the pedal and I found myself going 100 miles an hour down this deserted freeway. And I don't know whether you know that or not, but it's a felony. And but I didn't think of that. I was just thinking, I got to get some sleep before I go on stage this next evening. And I thought if there were headlights coming up behind me, I'd slow down. You know, maybe he wouldn't know that I was going 100 miles an hour, he, the policeman. And every so often a car would come this way. I didn't know that technology had improved so that a police car going this way could measure my car's speed going that way. And so at one point, there were headlights behind me. I went more slowly, and he pulled me over. Let me see your license. I hand him my license. He says, come into the car. Into the car. So I leave my car, and I go to the passenger seat, the seat beside the driver, and I open the car door, and the lights go on. And the cop looks at me, and he says, no shit, Shatner. And then he looked at my license, and he said, all right, just keep it down, because I explained what I was doing. Keep it down. No problem, officer. So now, for the next 15 miles, I kept it down, but I kept thinking, I got to get some sleep. And gradually, my speed built up. And about 100 miles later, another cop car behind me pulls me over. Let me see your license. Get in the car. I open the door, and he says, no shit, Shatner. And then he lets me go. Just keep it down. And it happened a third time. So we call that episode the No Shit Shatner episode, in which I was doing felonious work. I admit to it, it's many years ago, so the time has lapsed. But it was an example of my connection with police officers, because they obviously had known me, and they probably were radioing ahead, telling everybody on that freeway that I'm driving 100 miles an hour, and please arrest him. We want to take a few moments to introduce some special guests with us tonight, in addition to our honorees who you will meet later. And right now, let's meet LAPD's top cop, Chief Michael Moore. But also from this, the LAPD Assistant Chief, Robert Marino. Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. Deputy Chief Donald Graham. Former LAPD Chief Charlie Beck. 3 LAPD Medal of Valor recipients. Officer Martin Higuera. Officer Gerardo Velasco. Officer James Zoraban. Is that the right pronunciation? Did I get that correct? I don't want to mispronounce your name. Sheriff Alex Villanueva. Judge Lance Ito. Former Sheriff Jim McDonald. Former District Attorney Steve Cooley. From the world of politics and the White House, former Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. From Fox News, Christine Devine. From the sports world, Olympic gold medal diver Greg Louganis. From the entertainment world, from 911 and the rookie, Michelle Bernard. Bob Alanese. For a museum to run successfully and achieve its goals, it needs to be run by a great team. It's my pleasure to introduce the board of the Los Angeles Police Museum, retired LAPD Sergeant Bob Alanese.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to serve on the Los Angeles Police Museum as the board chair. And on behalf of the board, I want to welcome you to the 26th Annual Jack Webb Awards and hope you enjoy this wonderful evening. First and foremost, I have to thank the one and only William Shatner for hosting this event. Now I want to thank my fellow board members for their dedication to the museum and would like for them to please stand at this time and be recognized. In addition, I wanted to recognize and thank the museum staff and volunteers for all the hard work they've done throughout the year and for tonight's successful event. But honestly, our success, and I truly believe this, is also the result of the complete support from Chief Moore. I want to thank him for his absolute commitment to the museum and for his interest in preserving the history of the Los Angeles Police Department. Chief Moore, thank you very much. Tonight, we honor three outstanding individuals who are passionate about what they do. They're dedicated to serving our community and working with the youth, and as you learn of their efforts tonight, may you be inspired, as I am, to serve as they do. Looking at the audience tonight, I'm very humbled by the presence of the great leadership our city has produced, and thankful for their support to the city and to the museum. To our current leadership and our past leaders, thank you for being here tonight. And I thank all of you for attending and contributing to tonight's events. And please be generous in our auctions. And I do want to thank a few of you who went above and beyond tonight. The Amundsen Foundation, Brewery X, SYRT, Charitable Foundation, ALADS, Caruso Affiliated, Forum One, Steve Casson, Realty, McNicholas and McNicholas, and also the Los Angeles Police Protective League, and many more, as you can see their names, on scrolling on the dinner events. Finally, I want to introduce our executive director. Before I do that, I really want to thank so much two individuals that you're going to see tonight on the screen. One, Jane Goodall. I'm not going to say much at the moment, but I did have a chance to work with her, and it's because I was a Los Angeles police officer that I had that opportunity to implement a worthwhile program to our youth in the inner city, and it was after the riots. The other person is Frank Luntz. What a humble and outstanding individual. I saw his work, and I wanted to make sure that we recognized him, and you're going to see what he has coming up. So thank you very much. At this time, I want to introduce our executive director, Erica Artis. She's been an outstanding woman, and I'm very thankful for all the effort she's done to, get our partnership going and make this event tonight very successful. So with that, Erica.
So many beautiful faces tonight. We are so honored to have all of you here on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Museum. I want to thank every single one of you for your outstanding support of not only the gala, but also of the museum throughout the year. Our members, donors, visitors, community partners, and LAPD personnel have been nothing short of stellar in coming together with the same goal of holistically strengthening our museum. As you know, the museum is housed in the Old Northeast Police Station and is federally recognized as a historical landmark. The museum, its collections, and its programming are special and are a true historic treasure of LAPD, but also the city of Los Angeles. The museum's mission is to collect, preserve, educate, and interpret the history of the LAPD. And as we look to the future and how we are going to preserve this history, it is our hope that we can continue to collaborate and lean upon our partnerships with all of you. As we navigate our way out of what was truly a test of will and fortitude with the pandemic, we are fortunate as a museum to be in a position where we can strategically evaluate ways in which we can improve our visitor experience, increase community outreach, build awareness, capacity, and strengthen our bond with our largest stakeholder, our wonderful community, and the incredible men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department. This evening's event also allows us to bring our vision of creating new programming, as Chair Alanis mentioned, to life. Our museum staff is consistently developing new ways to create greater engagement and capacity with our communities. We are eager to relaunch a groundbreaking youth program with world-renowned anthropologist and primatologist, Dr. Jane Goodall. You will learn more about that later in our program. We are determined and dedicated to restoring valuable relationships with law enforcement and our communities through pathways that encourage us to collaborate in unique ways. This program with Dr. Goodall will be a major driver with these initiatives. Your generosity this evening will help the museum become a base camp for all of Dr. Goodall's initiatives, activities, and outreach with our local youth. And you and your generosity will have a direct impact on our current social climate. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my incredible staff: Cynthia Tarita, Officer Dylan Wells, Shia Luna. All of you are the ones, yes, please. All of you are the ones who deserve the praise because you are the ones executing behind all of our vision, so thank you. I want to also acknowledge our wonderful senior lead and community relations officers of Northeast Division who are also instrumental in supporting the museum. Lastly, I want to thank all of you, our wonderful donors, members, and partners who are absolutely critical in making the museum a world-class destination for historical preservation and community outreach. For now, please take your attention to the screen for a brief video on our museum.
The Los Angeles Police Museum in Highland Park houses some of the most famous and infamous relics in department history. Our guide on this tour is retired LAPD Commander Bob Taylor.
This building was built in 1925, and it was known as Highland Park Station. And it operated as a full police station from 1925 up until late 1983, early 1984.
Now a museum, the memorabilia takes us all the way back to the LAPD's origins in the late 1800s.
This was a cowboy town, and so Levi's and shirts and cowboy hats and all that kind of stuff. So this was the first formal uniform that the department had. And so this is a picture of the officers and their uniform with their Remington rifles.
I noticed that the stereotype of the law enforcement officer with the mustache dates back.
Most of them, in the 1800s, they had beards and mustaches.
Now, why is that? Is that just the look?
I think they didn't want to shave. Don't forget, shave. You didn't have an electric razor. You couldn't go get a Gillette razor.
And so the classic look of the mustached LAPD cop has flourished ever since. Now, before women could join the force, LA had city mothers. They helped care for homeless kids. One city mother, Alice Stebbins Wells, went on to become the first female LAPD officer in 1910, the first female officer in the nation, for that matter.
When Alice came on, they didn't have a uniform store. So how could she get a uniform? She made her own uniforms.
How fast did another female officer come after she became an officer?
Very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the 1920s, we had not only Alice Stebbins Wells, but we had the first African-American policewoman as well.
This is also a crime museum. One section dedicated to the 1963 Onion Field murder of Officer Ian Campbell. 2 revolvers involved in the Onion Field shooting are stored here. Another room tells the story of publishing heiress Patty Hearst. Hearst was kidnapped by the Symbionese Liberation Army, then forced to join this terrorist group in a 1974 bank heist.
They found what the SLA members were armed with. So it included M1 carbines, M1A2 carbines, 38 caliber revolvers, 12 gauge shotgun, 45 caliber semi-automatic handguns. February 28th, 1997, 2 suspects entered the Bank of America in North Hollywood. And this is exactly what they looked like. This is what they were wearing. We've outfitted 2 mannequins so that people can see what they look like.
10 officers were injured in the North Hollywood shootout. The suspects were killed. Their bullet-riddled vehicle also parked at the museum.
And he was crouched down in front of this car, shooting at the officers who were located behind his car.
Right here.
Right here.
For anyone who's into LAPD history, or the history of Los Angeles for that matter, it would be criminal for you not to show up and visit this place. The museum is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. In Highland Park, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
I don't know if he can do that now. That cell gets stuck, doesn't it? I am so honored and pleased to have a very special guest that I would like to introduce. If you could all join me in please welcoming Sheriff Alex Villanueva to this stage. Sheriff Villanueva.
Good evening, everyone. I thank the Museum Foundation and LAPD, our host, Mr. Shatner here, big fan of yours. And thank you for everyone coming together for a worthwhile cause and supporting the legacy and the history of law enforcement, particularly here in the city of LA. Very admirable. And I'm just going to say just a quick comments about my brief time as sheriff. And I've learned two big lessons that are very important. One is, if you don't do anything, bad things happen. And we've seen that time and time again. Be it on homelessness, be it on looting, be it anything you can think of, the worst thing we can do is nothing. However, in the political world, that's what old politicians specialize in. Let's not do anything, and we'll do a study. Meanwhile, the problem gets worse. Now, how about we start taking action and start figuring things out and working together collaboratively? And as Senator Scott said, I believe from South Carolina, this isn't about left or right, it's about right and wrong. That's the colors we need to focus on, what's right and what's wrong. And working together, we can actually solve a lot of things. Let's make sure everyone has a seat at the table so we can join forces and, yes, have the audacity to actually listen to someone who does not agree with us. Heaven forbid. We have to go against the instinct of only joining ourselves with like-minded people. No, find people that disagree with you. I guarantee you, it's at the end of the day, you're going to have the right plan moving forward. So let's do that for everything we're doing, be it at the city, at the county level, state and national level. We're going to definitely advance our democracy and make the place a better place for everyone. So thank you all. Please enjoy the evening.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sheriff Villanueva. We also want to say that you are all welcome to the museum. We've expanded our hours, so we are really wanting to see all of your beautiful and lovely faces there. Thank you, Mr. Shatner, for being part of our evening. You are absolutely incredible, and it's actually a dream come true to meet you.
They're playing it again. All right, I want a show of hands. I want everybody in the arena. Show of hands. I want to show it. Do you want to hear that song again? Yes or no? I want to see this. I want to see the show of hands. Over there. The show of hands over there. I see somebody over there once. Yes. Yes. Play it one more time. That's enough. Up. Thank you, Chris, and thank you. Listen, everybody, that's really generous of everybody. I'm very moved by that. That's really extraordinary. And now, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce a 40-year veteran of the LAPD after joining the department in 1981. And I was around Los Angeles in 1981. He rose through the ranks and worked in every bureau. And in 2018, he was sworn in as the 57th chief of our great city, and as such, oversees the third largest police department in the United States, with over 9,500 sworn officers and 3,000 civilian employees. Please welcome our top cop, the chief of Los Angeles Police Department, Michael Moore.
Well, good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. I know it's 9 o'clock, but that's early for a Jack Webb Award, isn't it? For those of us that have been here before. I want to first thank every person who's contributed tonight to the various auction items, to the commitments that you've made financially to the future of this great museum. I am humbled tonight as a chief. I have a privilege of a lifetime to lead an agency, 153 years old, that has gone through the trials and tribulations of American policing over the last 153 years, and in my view, has continually demonstrated leadership, has continually demonstrated that to protect and to serve is ingrained in the DNA of every member sworn civilian in this organization, past and present. But what's critical in that belief is not just that, but that we have a memory. I spoke with a gentleman who's over our city archives, a great city history that so much of us don't know about. We have the good fortune, the blessings in Los Angeles to have had the wisdom. Is Richard Koch here? Where's Richard at? Richard, please stand. A man such as this that had the vision some 25 years ago to protect our history. You know, it's been said by former Commissioner Timoney from New York City and later a chief in Miami that if you forget your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And anyone who knows policing knows we don't study history. And our museum, unique across the country, is a place that we can remember our history. We can go learn about our history, warts and all. The good things, the not so good things. And I'm proud of this board of directors, Erica, her leadership, inspiration, the revitalization, the renewal of this effort. Northeast Station holds a special place in my heart. It's the first station I had the opportunity to work in as on a three-day ride-along. It was still working, and it was one of our relics. And then later through the years, we had the opportunity as a city to tear it down. And again, I'm grateful for Richard and others that joined in and said, no, we need to protect this. We need to protect it, and we need to store and place within it our history, and to show it, and to demonstrate to everyone that we are an organization that's willing to learn through our ups and our downs. The Jack Webb Award has been a series throughout the years as the primary fundraiser to maintain this building and its activities. It is not on a city budget list. There's not a line item in LA City to support this facility. It pays its water and electric bills to the same city that has generously given us the ability to use that facility. So your financial contribution, whether it is here as a dinner guest or through one of these donations, or you subscribe annually in support of this museum, is critical to our success. I've had the blessings over 4 decades to be a member of this organization, and I've seen what I'll call the arc of policing. But we have a new generation coming on, and many of them don't have in their mind or in their perspective where we've been. These last few years, pandemic, the worst, I believe, in our existence of as at least our generations today, and as far as a human experience, is going to leave a mark on us as it leaves all of society. We've lost far too many of our people to it. We've lost far too many of our family members to it. This museum will offer a place to remember and memorialize. In 1919, this city had a pandemic, Spanish flu. Throughout years, I heard about it. Didn't know anything about it. And then this pandemic came on. It's like, well, what is a pandemic? again, this museum offers us the ability going forward that maybe 10, 20, 30, or some chief 50 years from now, we'll be able to go back and look at it. So thank you for the board, for the steering committee, for the supporters that allow us to maintain this, that allow us to continue it. Also for the wisdom of inviting our community in, inviting our community that at times are suspicious or have concerns about what this department does and how it goes about its work. Because as it sees the sacrifice, the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the acknowledgement of our best and our worst, I believe we're drawn closer together. Tonight, I have the ability to recognize one of 3 awardees. Before I get to my introduction of this awardee, I want to speak briefly about 2 others. One is a man that is known well throughout Los Angeles and LA County and throughout the state of California. Tonight, he's actually in disguise as Jack Webb, and that's Bob Hertzberg. Senator, thank you for being here tonight. California Senator Robert Hertzberg, a friend of law enforcement, a friend of what Sheriff Villanueva spoke about, action, about standing up for what's right, standing up for the men and women in law enforcement, for a tough and difficult job, and also at the same time, insisting on reforms and making the criminal justice system fairer. But in doing so, doing it in a manner that's responsible, that achieves what we all want, which is a safer community. It's an honor tonight to honor you as one of our awardees. Second person is a gentleman I had not met before, but I am looking so much forward to knowing more about you and working with you. And that's Frank Lutz. Let's please give him a hand, please. In a brief, shorter time, I've learned that here's a communicator. Here's a person who's trying to, in America today, do one of the most difficult tasks, and that is for each other to hear each other and to see each other and begin to understand each other. And that the value of language and the importance of it and how we can communicate so that we can protect the very democracy that so many have given their lives, and that I know the men and women working in patrol tonight are doing their damnedest to protect. So Frank, congratulations on this recognition, and again, I look forward to working with you and you with us in the department as we go to communicate what I think is a message worth hearing. Frank. Now, lastly, I get to recognize the third awardee, and actually he'll be the first because he'll be the first to come up. I have a video that's going to play in just a moment, but Steve Robinson can best be described as a man who's with his wife Janet, who couldn't be here tonight, and I miss her, as does Cindy, is a force of nature, plain and simple. Person I met more than a decade ago, and first learned of him as his involvement in supporting the men and women in South Los Angeles, the men and women of 77th Station, Southeast Station, Newton Station, and then more broadly, he grew across his support of our entire department. Simple matters that just frustrate the hell out of a cop, that we can't seemingly fix a door, we can't seemingly get a piece of equipment, we can't seemingly get a piece of technology that allows us to go out and do our work more effectively. Without question, he has time and time again risen to that and provided for it. And yet at the same time, he recognizes in his position that it's much more than just protecting law enforcement and giving it and helping support it with resources it needs. It's protecting the very communities in which we go out and work and serve. So his support through the years has been not just to LAPD and financial contributions, but also in supporting the very disadvantaged communities that are the most violent plague, and we see the greatest levels of tragedy. And in supporting them, particularly the youth and their families, is to build their resilience, to build them on a pathway that breaks the cycle of despair, that builds them through their own capabilities, that holds them to standards that recognizes the value of them as an individual and what they hold within. It has been a blessing, whatever a number of organizations in which you've supported, to also witness that as a Hawthorne Reserve, we had the ability to bring him over as an LAPD Reserve. He's a Line 1 level reserve, which means he works alongside now detectives on major cases, but also in patrol, and does everything as far as in willingness to do everything as any other police beat cop will do. Rolls his sleeves up and gets out there and gets the work done. So it is a pleasure to award you tonight this Jack Webb Award for your integrity, your commitment to go out and get the work done, to roll your sleeves up. It will not be for your humility, because he's also a tough cookie. When he sets out and works with us and us with him, he expects us all to perform. So I appreciate your courage, your generosity, and your commitment to us and to this city. And let's look to see what a few other people have to say. Thank you.
3 words to describe Steve are philanthropic,
passionate,
principled,
powerful, generous, competent, generously competent, competently generous.
I would say he's very dangerous. People should be warned about him.
Sexy. I mean, have you seen him without a shirt on?
Maybe touchy, because we used to wrestle in the police academy and he was kind of touchy.
Committed,
focused,
razor smart,
strong, both physically and character-wise.
and fun.
Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Copernicus, Robinson. Steve is a true Renaissance man.
Steve is the total package. He's an unbelievable family man. He's a philanthropist of the highest order, highly successful businessman, passionate law enforcement professional, and the best friend you could ever ask for.
I think being a police officer is his way of giving back, his way of connecting to people who are less fortunate, and his way of making sure that California and the world's just a better place.
Here you have a very successful person who goes out and does real police work, just like any other police officer, consistently. And then in addition to that, you have somebody who's giving back to the community. So I think the combination of both, it's like a philanthropic policeman.
He is incredibly giving, sincerely invested in his community, and always someone who we can count on to get involved and to give back.
I think Steve cares more about the community than anything he's achieved in the business world.
America is really still the place where you can make your dreams come true, and he wants that ability for everyone in the city.
Well, Steve doesn't do anything halfway. The way he prepares for his policing responsibilities is unbelievable. I mean, first of all, he finished first in his academy class with people half his age. Stronger, smarter, faster. I mean, he's like a Superman. It's unbelievable.
You know, when he takes off his shirt, not just the women swoon, but so do the men.
I've been with Steve on several LAPD ride-alongs, on dark nights in dangerous places. That's the real deal. He doesn't go to the command staff or the commanders or even the chief. He deals with the line officers and go, what can I do for you? And how can I give back to you to make this job better now that I've worked it with you?
I think he has such a nice way about being with people that I think they feel comfortable. And I think that's an important piece. If you look at what community policing means, people should feel comfortable around their police officers, and I think he makes people comfortable.
Steve is also an independent thinker. He's not going to go, with the crowd.
One of my favorite qualities about Steve is how he looks at the world and thinks about things differently.
Once he hears of a problem or a system that's maybe broken, he focuses on what exactly is the problem and what steps do we need to take to address those.
Congratulations for getting this award and for being recognized for the great work that you do as a police officer, and also for all the great stuff that you do for the community.
I am so proud to join in this celebration of all he's done to make our region stronger and safer.
Steve, congratulations, you deserve it. Keep doing what you do best, which is getting to the heart of what the police officers and detectives need and making that happen for them.
Congratulations for an award well deserved and well earned, but I don't think there's enough awards in the world to give to Steve for everything that he does for all of us.
I am so proud of you. I have so much love and respect and admiration for you that I couldn't possibly convey in words. You are simply the best of the best, and I'm lucky to have you in my life.
I love that guy.
Okay, so please welcome to the stage the 2022 Jack Webb awardee, Steve Robinson. I'd love to meet that guy. 14 years ago, I was lucky enough to meet a guy named Andy Smith. I'm sure a lot of you remember Andy Smith. And I wanted to go on a ride along, and he put me in a car with two officers in Southeast who were working gangs at the time. And two things happened that night. One, they showed me a great time. Anyone who's been on a ride along, who's been in a police car knows it's a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. And it happened 14 years ago, and I go out today, and I still feel the same way about it. The second thing that happened that night is at the end of the night, after being in the car for 8 hours, driving around Watts and Southeast, and we all know we can look at the despair that's there and the hopelessness and the helplessness. And I said, do you actually think you're making a difference? And both of them, without hesitation, absolutely said yes. And I sat back in the car and I went, wow, these guys have been on the job for 15, 20 years. They've been in this job, in the location, in those neighborhoods for that long, and they still believe they can make a difference. And right then and there, I decided to start my journey to try to become a reserve officer. Now, it took a hell of a long time because the process is ridiculous, and there's a lot of steps, and there's a lot of things you have to do, and there's a lot of reasons why they tell you no all along the way. And I got rejected 4 times. For something I had done when I was in high school, and by now I was almost 50 years old, and I kept saying to everyone who would listen, why do you care what I did 35 years ago? It doesn't matter anymore. But that's police, that's the department. And I kept going and going, and finally I got through the backgrounds and all that, 5 psych evals, 5 physicals, all the rest. By the way, when I got engaged, I said to my wife, I can give you my entire background package. I'm the most vetted fiance you're ever going to come across. And you know I don't lie, because when I didn't lie in the application is when I got disqualified for something I had done, 35 years ago. So I finally got in, and I can tell you it is the best thing I have ever done. I've done quite a number of things. I've started 4 companies, I ran them, sold them off. My wife and I, Janet, who, as Mike said, is not here, she's taking our last kid to school this weekend, so finally we're empty nesters, which is really a phenomenal time in your life. And a shout out to her. You're in my thoughts, you're in my heart, as you always are. I couldn't do anything without you. You're the most wonderful thing I've ever met in my entire life. And what I've come to learn as being a reserve or being a cop for the last 14 years is that integrity, loyalty, commitment, courage, trust is what I've come to believe is at the heart and soul of every person I've ever met who wears the uniform. And those are the people I want to hang around with. So what I do now is I pretty much do cop work all the time. I gave up everything else. Between philanthropy and cop work is what I do. I wouldn't do anything else. And I know it's a cynical world, and I know there's times where we get down and there's despair. I can tell you it's the best job. It's the best experience I've ever had. There's still hope. There's still hope for a bright future. Don't ever give up. Don't think anything else, but you guys are doing God's work, and I'm privileged and honored and humbled to be a part of it. Thank you.
Stop. Thank you, Stephen. I don't know where you get the time to do all that stuff. That's incredible. Next, we have a presenter who has a lengthy background
as an entrepreneur and business executive. And she was in a financial leadership role at the Walt Disney Company for 11 years, and in 2018 was chosen for the first female president and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. Please welcome Maria Salinas.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It's certainly wonderful to be here with you all this evening. And let me first start by saying that I applaud the work of law enforcement. And so for me to be here on behalf of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce, giving you the highest respect for the work that you do, thank you for the invitation to have me here today. To all of you. I have the pleasure of introducing a longtime friend, not only to me, Maria Salinas, but to our community here, to California. Senate Majority Leader Emeritus Bob Hertzberg was first elected to the California State Assembly in 1996 and served as the 64th Speaker of the California State Assembly. In the words of one veteran Sacramento columnist, he is an intense bundle of energy, an all-night negotiator. We know that's true. After his tenure as Speaker, Senator Hertzberg became a clean energy entrepreneur until 2014, when he was elected to the state Senate. He now represents nearly 1 million people in the San Fernando Valley. Senator Hertzberg is known for taking on the biggest and most challenging issues facing California. And I want to share with you a couple of his significant legislative agendas that he's been able to complete. His gun safety plan. Senate Bill 1327 was signed into law last month and is expected to help end gun violence by allowing private citizens to have legal recourses to protect us from dangerous weapons. Last June, the governor signed into law SB 54, a bill he helped broker that calls for a sweeping first-in-the-world plan to cut plastics waste by outlawing single-use plastics. That was a big piece of legislation, and I just want to applaud you for what you did. That was a tough negotiation. Thank you so much, Senator, for that work. And I am told that we are to expect more soon. With only a few days left in this year's legislative session and his Senate career coming to end his term this November, there are sure to be a few typical Bob Hertzberg surprises by the time that the Senate adjourns on August 31st. Now, is anyone surprised that there's going to be a few surprises coming? Thank you so much, Bob Hertzberg, for your work, for the commitment that you've made not only to your district and representing your district here in the Valley, but to all Californians. I've had the pleasure to work with him as head of the chamber, and I can tell you, he is a tough negotiator. He's the one that's going to ask the questions. How does this help all Californians? How does this help move into a better future? I cannot think of anyone more committed to doing the work to represent us in the state legislature. It has really been a pleasure to get to know him, to work with him, to see what motivates him of really making this a better community for all Californians. And I am really struck by his commitment of a higher cause, that noble cause of being a servant leader and being committed to helping California move forward and truly be a thriving place for all. So, ladies and gentlemen, Please watch this screen to hear from others.
Bob Hertzberg is beyond being the Energizer Bunny. I don't think he sleeps. He has so much on his plate and so many balls in the air at all times, and he somehow gets them where they're supposed to be and doesn't drop them.
Bob is the definition of from the community, for the community.
The really unique thing about Bob Hertzberg is he wants to hear what you've got to say. And ultimately, he can compromise and he'll work with you. He brings people together, he makes things happen.
Starting out in the private sector, he has a real grasp of what residents face each and every day. That makes him especially effective when representing our communities because he knows how government decisions affect them.
I learned so much from him. His relationships, his tactical thinking, his willingness to put in the work and spend the time on the details. He was able to quickly pick up enough details to be able to make key judgment calls that proved incredibly valuable in getting what was a very difficult bill and a massive negotiated settlement across the finish line.
He's an amazing personality with a phenomenal work ethic, and so he was somebody that I had long heard about before I was even elected to the legislature. Everybody talked about Bob Hertzberg, and so I remember the first time I saw him was at an event where he gave a presentation. I went, oh my goodness, that man's got a lot of energy.
There's also a wonderful mix of substance and theatricality that he brings to the job, and I think he can disarm opponents and allies alike through doing something kind of off the wall, singing, swearing at a very opportune time. There's a goofy side to him that I got to see that he's able to employ effectively as well. And it's also just genuine and part of his personality and his spirit.
He's also a strong partner to our public safety officers and is invested in the safety of our neighborhoods across the Los Angeles County region.
I want to make the point that gun laws, California's gun laws, do work. Residents in this state are 25% less likely to die in mass shootings compared to other states. Unsurprisingly, less guns means less deaths.
Bob and I discussed it and decided to do it together. He was the lead author and I was the joint author to make California Main Street safer from these dangerous, high-powered ghost guns.
And so to have him in my corner, to be working with him was such an asset, and it was fun, and we had such a great opportunity working together.
And happy to have partnered with somebody who is so vibrant, passionate, and committed to making California a better place.
I'm a big fan. I obviously congratulate him on this award and know that he's going to continue to provide really meaningful leadership to Los Angeles and to our state.
Hertzberg, congratulations on this award. Congratulations to all the recipients. You are deserving. Your commitment to public safety and the Los Angeles Police Department especially, it culminates with this award. I appreciate our friendship, your passion, your commitment, and the way you serve your constituents. Best wishes to all of you. Have a great night.
Senator Hertzberg, please join me on stage to receive your award, the Jack Webb Award.
Holy shit, I never got such a award so big. That's pretty good. Thank you, Maria. Thanks, everybody. Yes, indeed, Mr. Chief, this is a Jack Webb hat. And all I can say to everybody tonight, this is the city, Los Angeles, California, for the people that remember that from the old days. But it is a great honor to be here. And for a couple of things, I want to just start out, if I could, on a point of personal privilege, as we like to say. Tyler Eisen, who's sitting over here, who is the fella in the video, is important in a number of ways. Not how did he precede Craig Lawley at the Los Angeles Police Protective League, But he is the one who's responsible for my relationship with the great Dr. Catherine Tellis, who is the director of the School of Criminology and Criminalistics at Cal State LA, the largest and best crime lab in the country, called the Hertzberg Davis Forensic Science Center, that everything gets taken care of. So I appreciate that very, very much. And the Spaniard, everybody, you know, Basque Country, the Chiefy, appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I heard Jim Wheeler's here. Is he here from ALADS? I heard he was here on the thing. I wasn't sure if he was. Craig Lawley, I mentioned, and also who just spent $6,000 on a helicopter ride was Richard Weintraub. He's right here with his wife, Leanne, and if you remember, his mom was so important to the department with the POPS program, and very, very important. Roberta Weintraub, who spent her life, so much dedication to public safety and to the LAPD. I also want to shout out, is Chief Beck still here? Help me out. I had a great relationship. I don't know if he's still here. He went out to go ride in the sheriff, appreciate it so much. I just a couple of thoughts. I don't want to take too much time, but you know, you can't do public service without public safety. It is so critical. It is the most important thing. I know we're facing challenging times where there's folks that have different opinions about what that means and want to change what law enforcement does, and indeed, as the chief said, there are issues where none of us are perfect. My mother, but she wasn't perfect, close to being perfect, but not completely perfect. And so I just think that as we engage in this larger discussion about public service, as those of us who have the DNA to serve, to engage in challenging times, I think at the foundation, it's the reason why this award's so important, this organization's so important, is that public safety is so critical. And it's been since the days I was chair of Public Safety Committee 25 years ago, why I continue to engage and to continue to support. Second thing I want to say is history. The chief mentioned it briefly. I started a PhD at UCLA in California history. It is so critical to never forget where we come from, to learn the lessons on those shoulders on whom we stand, to listen and to learn, always to listen and always to learn. And so much of that comes from our history. Steve, comes from our personal experience. The fact that you're doing what you're doing is pretty incredible. But it is to learn and to listen. And I'm a big historian, and I'm going to continue in every way possible. I was there when Mike Hernandez was working on this in Highland Park. I was talking to Maria about this, who grew up in Highland Park, was working on putting this together way back in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember, but I was deeply involved with so many folks back in that. I also want to, Frank Luntz, who's here, who's an honoree, you'll hear about him in a minute, is just a super rock star, an extraordinary human being who has learned how, and he's a mentor. He's a mentor of mine, or I'm a mentor of his, I should say, in terms of learning and teaching me communications to get better at it and to understand it. And he's done such an incredible job in transcending and building partnerships among all sides to make things happen and helping all of us. It's great. Steve, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate this. It means a lot. And I want to also give honor to all of those who wear badges here in this room, who give that dedication to service. And I appreciate it. And I'll always fight for you. You may not always be right, and we may also have discussions, but I'll always fight for you. Thank you so very much. I really, really appreciate this tonight. Thank you.
That's sweet. Bob's getting an award for just carrying that award. Yeah. It's now my pleasure to introduce another outstanding leader in the LAPD command staff. After a lengthy career in the department, working almost every division and assignment, on July 4th, 2021, he was promoted to Deputy Chief, assigned to oversee the Valley Bureau. Please welcome Alan Hamilton.
Well, thank you. I was hoping to get some Star Trek music in honor of Donnie, but we just had a little discussion back there. So I want to say a couple of words, and I know Frank doesn't really want me to stay up here very long, but I'm going to lay my friend out here. So Frank and I share two loves. Frank is a dedicated person that loves this country, as am I, and Frank is all about the youth, as am I. So the way we met years ago, as Frank was sponsoring one of our military veteran events, we came to discuss what was going on in the Los Angeles Police Department and some of the things that were happening. And I will tell you that Dr. Frank Luntz is known publicly to many people here as a political commentator, one of the best pollsters in the world, not just America, but certainly in the world. He's worked all over the world on campaigns, on polling, on political consultation, and he's done a lot of things with many different governments around the world. But most importantly, Dr. Luntz is an educator. He's a professor. I would give his curriculum vitae up here, but I'm not going to go into that. I will just tell you that he's traveled to many lands and he's taught many people. But now I'm going to tell you some things that he probably would not want me to mention and what makes this man so special. So years ago, we were looking to have a place where we could have events, have support for the police department, and Frank opened his doors to his house, to his heart. He supported us in many different ways that are too lengthy for me to go into tonight. But he took Operations Valley Bureau under his wing, and he said he would support us. And I'm sorry for those of you that work Operations West Bureau. Yes, I stole you from him because he does live in your area, but I digress. So we've had a number of events at Frank's house. And so Frank asked me one day, hey, well, do you think you could, support some of the initiatives that I have? I'm all about working with youth. And I will tell you that I enthusiastically said yes. And I volunteered to help Frank with some of his students. So we did the Students at Sea event where he brought in many of his students that were, he was lecturing to them around the world. And he brought them in and we were able to meet them. And I will tell you that one of those students was able to get a tour of our Hertzberg Davis facility over there at Forensic Services. She loved it. And we were able to make some great connections there. But let me tell you how deep Frank's commitment is. Shortly after the unrest that occurred here in Los Angeles, as a result of what happened with George Floyd, he asked me to get together a cadre of officers in the midst of COVID to come to his house and have a discussion outside at his residence to talk about what really matters. And the real mark of a man is in times of trouble and stress, they want to bring you in to communicate with the community even more. And we talked about how these were the critical times where we needed to talk about what the community expectations were from the department and what the department's expectations were of the community. And we came together, and that was, as a result of that, we're going to be getting into some other things that I'll be discussing shortly as well, that he has volunteered me for in the very near future here. One of the other things that he got me involved in were the students from the Verb and Day students. You guys here? Let's go, stand up, guys. Let's go. Yeah, so you guys didn't think you'd see me again, huh? Okay, so a little while back, Frank invited me over to the LA Times building to have an honest talk, an honest discussion with some of the students from Verb and Day High School. So we sat down and we had that discussion, and I will tell you, these bright young men, they didn't hold back, and I didn't want them to hold back. And we had an honest discussion about what the expectations are for this department in that community. And it was a great interchange, and I truly appreciated that exchange. Again, none of these things take place without the support of Dr. Frank Luntz. So thank you guys. We'll be talking again soon. I've been involved in some other things with Dr. Luntz, but I'm going to go on to say this. He has graciously volunteered to do a number of future events, and I'll be discussing those after we watch this short video here regarding Dr. Luntz and his activities around the world.
Frank Luntz is one of these people that when you hear about him, you want to know him. When you get to know him, you decide you want to know him better. And when you do get to know him better, you decide that's one of the best decisions you made.
Frank Luntz is an American institution that almost defies description, using the very language skills that he has so diligently studied, artfully mastered, and so effectively and passionately applies in making this country a better place for us all.
Now, I've known Frank for 30 years. I've never known a person to work harder. And he'll never give up. He has passion to get the work done, but he's also one of the brightest people I know.
I just want to bring in pollster and political strategist Frank Luntz.
Frank Luntz, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
Let's ask pollster extraordinaire Frank Luntz whether he agrees with that, what his dials are telling. What do you think of that?
Would any Democrat here want your party to compromise to keep the government open?
Probably not.
That when we don't even share the same facts, then this country is in deep, deep trouble.
The most important thing you can do for communication to transcend this politics and ideology is ask a question.
You cannot claim to be the voice of the people and then not know what the people are saying to you.
Frank is as much at home in the elite global think tanks and ivory towers of the world's top universities as he is with the underprivileged young people from the streets of the roughest neighborhoods and boroughs around the country and the world. It is with these young people that his genius really shines.
There's one thing that I need you to learn from this whole conversation. It's not what you say that matters, it's what people hear.
Frank Luntz has been volunteering with Verbum Day for about 3.5 to 4 years. He sits on the board of directors, and he also co-moderates the emerging leaders. And in terms of the students that do attend the school, they come in with an average of 1, maybe 2, sometimes 3 grades behind grade level. The students show up because they know Frank loves them and cares about their future. And for the last, I think, 17 years, we've had 100% of our graduating seniors get accepted into college.
The USC Dornsife Washington, D.C. program is an experiential learning program. And our objective is to not only educate students in the classroom, but to provide an immersive experiential learning opportunity for them where they get to step outside of what they're learning in textbooks and interact with some of the people that they're learning with, politicians, policymakers, etc. Frank Luntz has a tremendous impact on all students. They will tell you so much about how much time and effort he puts into his classes and how much he cares for them. He cares about them as people, as individuals. He's very giving with his time and experience and connections, and that is just invaluable.
Tonight, a look at America from the outside. We're hearing directly from foreign students about their impressions of what's going on in the U.S. right now. Let's bring in pollster Frank Luntz. Frank, this is a focus group. How'd it come about? Who are these kids?
These kids are all studying or recently studied at New York University, Abu Dhabi. There are 22 students from 16 different countries. There's nowhere else in the world where you've got more nations represented, more global discussion than at NYU Abu Dhabi.
I feel like the class is interesting for me because what I was looking for was to learn something new, to engage with people from different backgrounds, to learn about what the reality is so that I can put myself into that situation and learn about how the educational process actually works.
It's a life-changing thing. It is the scale and depth of his classes are just beyond what one could imagine. He would introduce us to congressmen, senators. We even got to converse with several former British prime ministers.
The talented students who come from all over the world to study at NYU Abu Dhabi learn how to draw insights from those leaders that cause them to think deeply about what divides and unites us. What makes Frank an effective and wonderful teacher is that he cares deeply for each student and is deeply curious about the way they see the world. He seeks to learn from them and in turn gives them what they routinely claim is one of the most challenging and game-changing experiences of their life.
Whatever he's learned and whatever knowledge he has about the world, if he's able to impart them to the students, they're going to benefit from that. And it says a lot about him that that's what gives him his biggest kick. It's not dealing with all the fancy people and the political leaders and the big companies and all the rest of it. It's knowing that what he's done has helped someone else.
He just wants us to be open-minded, to disagree with people respectfully, to accept different opinions, even if you don't believe those.
As a normal college student, you wouldn't have those types of opportunities. It's not just educational, it's life-changing.
Frank Luntz is a cornerstone of this country's future, and I'm proud to know him and call him friend.
I don't think I've ever come across anyone quite like Frank. No, I think he's definitely unique.
And before I invite Dr. Luntz up, you just saw how impactful Frank is on his students, both local and worldwide. And we talked a little bit. I twisted his arm a little bit. He twisted my arm a little bit. Frank is committed to doing a focus group in each of our 4 bureaus with our youth in the city of Los Angeles. And I think everyone here has seen these focus groups. They're intense. I think I'm going to hire you as an interviewer maybe one of these days, Chief. I think that might not be a bad idea. You can teach our interview school. But we're going to sit down with the kids and we're going to focus. And we're going to talk about what these kids, our future, are looking for out of their police department. And we're going to talk about what this department will offer to these youth. So thank you very much for making that commitment. I didn't twist your arm too hard, I hope, but thank you for making that commitment. And of all those titles that are very important that I talked about, the most important title to me is that I can call Frank a friend. Come on up, friend.
How come Bob's is bigger? I bet that's the first time you ever heard that. And I don't know where William Shatner is, but my favorite TV show of all time, I know I'm supposed to say Star Trek, but it really is T.J. Hooker. And what you may not know is that that is based on Bill Clinton's favorite movie of all time, D.C. Hooker. So you heard that I'm a pollster, and my favorite polling question of all time, I don't want you to film this. We polled 1,000 women last year, and we asked them, would you have relations with Bill Clinton if you could? 21% said never again. I know that I am grateful for this, and I am pissed that yours is 3 times the size. But I get a chance to show this to you all. This was the plate that for 26 years was my father's vehicle. My dad was a state police surgeon. I was very proud of him. And he was very proud of his service for the Connecticut State Police. And I hate to admit this, but while I was a kid, I used to turn on the siren and turn on the lights and pull people over because I'm an idiot. And I am so glad that I get to show this, because this means so much to me. And his badge that meant so much to him is on my wall here in California. So I understand you, I feel for you, I empathize for you, and this gives me a chance to thank you for what you do and how you do it every single day. And I hope my father can hear me now when I say, Dad, thank you for teaching me respect for the service that you do, because I sleep better at night because you are there for me. So thank you for that. I want to recognize my students at Verbum Dei. You all, I've said this to you, and I know you don't necessarily believe me in this, but I respect and appreciate all that you're doing, the challenges that you face, from the communities that you come from. I'm grateful. You've had a bigger impact on me. And Angel and Paul, wherever you are, I think you're over there, your service to your students, to your school and your community it goes above and beyond. And in the end, that's what we are here for. Not for ourselves, but for the next generation. So students, God bless you, and faculty, thank you for what you do. Very quickly, there's a NBA player I hope is still in this room. He was sitting over there. He's living proof of the courage of conviction. You may have heard of the name Enes Kanter. He changed his last name to Freedom. He comes from Turkey. He has spoken out about human rights for the Turkish population and for the Chinese population, and it had caused him serious, significant damage to his career. He is sacrificing literally millions of dollars for his dedication and commitment to genuine freedom, not just in this country, but around this globe. Enes, if you're here, could you stand up? Because I want you recognized by everybody in this room. And I guess he's gone. So he was sitting over there. If you all run into a 6'11" tall individual, please thank him from me. Two other people. They say that if you want a friend in Washington, buy a dog. I can tell you that I did make a genuine friend who flew all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina to be here. Mick Mulvaney, the former White House Chief of Staff, who had the courage to stand up to a president, to stand up for congressional leadership. You are the living embodiment of a role model of what is good and decent, a political leader with honesty, integrity at the forefront. So Mick Mulvaney, we thank you for your service. And finally, my first mentor, and these are thank yous, but they are all meant to tell the story. My very first mentee, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was very upset. This is before I'd started teaching again, and I was looking for a purpose. And it was told to me, don't just teach, mentor. So the very first mentee I had was a student from Georgetown University who comes from a very difficult upbringing. And he has proven that it is not just what you get, it really is what you give. For whatever I have provided him, he has done so much more to me, for me, and for his community in public service and commitment. And this is why and I've got a response to you, and I will not forget, my very first mentee, who is a role model for every child in every community, Danny Wright, if you'll stand up and be recognized. So, Deputy Commissioner, you are correct that I will do anything that you ask of me. Tomorrow, Senator Hertzberg and the Deputy Commissioner are coming to my home, and we're going to have one of these conversations with 30 or 35 young people. It's going to be very difficult. We're going to talk about the state of democracy, the state of relationships, racism, anti-Semitism, elitism, and we're going to deal with these issues in a very constructive way. And so the Deputy Commissioner and the Senator are joining me for that conversation. But I want to do more. I already committed to a $6,000 trip on a helicopter, which I'm going to donate to Verbum Dei as a way that you all can raise money for your students, because it matters more what they get. So you can either give it to your students, here's your chance to start to lobby the faculty for what you do, but I'm going to match that $6,000 with another $6,000 for your efforts to connect to the community, because in the end, that's what this is all about. A safer, a healthier Los Angeles, and a commitment to the next generation. And Commissioner, whatever I can do for you all, I will do. It is a better thing than I do. And so thank you very much. And don't leave your award away, because I'm going to try to switch them right now. Y'all, thank you very much.
Wow. Congratulations to all of tonight's honorees, and thank you for all you do for Los Angeles. My personal thanks to every police officer here, current or retired, for protecting and serving us, and thanks to the LAPD Orchestra and the one song they know. And you guys are wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for attending and showing your support. I know that the board members and the museum staff would all welcome you to tour the museum at any time, so please put that on your agenda. You might even see me there. No, you won't. Yes, you will. It's an extraordinary place to go, and it's filled with marvelous things to think about. Stop by the valet table to order up your car, and don't forget to see the folks at the auction table to pay for or pick up your items in the silent or the live auction. It's my time to say goodbye and tonight, good night to all of you. Please drive safely, and we hope to see you next year. Thank you for coming.